morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Outpost Review. It's a beautiful day here. We got clear blue skies. I think it's supposed to try to rain tomorrow, about 50 cents worth. Anyway, we got us a good fire going here. It's not too chilly. It's about 37 degrees. But I thought I would start a little fire here to kind of get rid of some of the, oh goodness. Come here. Get rid of some of the scraps. Anyway, thought there was a few things that I wanted to share with you before I actually got going here. So, hope you all sit back, stay tuned, and enjoy what I've got to share with you today. Well, this is how far I've been able to get done. I actually turned the corner, and this is what I call my long side, because the 1x10s that I had cut originally, my original intentions were to do lap siding in between my main posts. But the more and more I thought about it, I decided to go ahead and do board and batten. That way I would inset my wall back inside, put my horizontals on, and then when I brought the boards all the way around, they would actually cover the post and the beam. And not that it wouldn't last a long time, because I actually charred them and they're massive, but because all the posts are 7x7 and the beams that run parallel with the floor joists are 7x7, but where the floor joists connect they're actually 7x10. So I've got a lot of massive beams, posts and beams within this timber frame. But I decided, you know, if I covered it with the board and batten, it would actually last a whole lot longer, and it might look a little bit better too. So I decided to go with that look. So originally, since it's a little over 12-foot span between the posts, I had cut the 1x10s 13 feet. I think I can put one more in there and just have a little bit cut off, and then I'll be right up towards the peak where the ridge beam is. And so what I'll do is I'll add some cut pieces up under there, but it's not going to make any difference because it's up underneath the eave anyway. So, but I'll only have probably maybe a half a dozen that I'll have to do that way, and then the rest of them will be full length. So I think it's going to really look good when I get it done. And like I said, it's going to cover my post and my beam. The bottom will get a rock or a veneer, which would be about 2.5 inches thick. Wall all the way around it, so the bottom of the post will be covered as well. So everything down all the way down to the footer will be covered. The inside, of course, like I've shown you in some other review videos, that's all going to be exposed. The wall, when I inset it back in there, by the time I get the finished wall on the inside, it's still leaving me about 1.25 inches of post all the way around the perimeter of the house, and of course everything on the inside. As you look up towards the ceiling and the two center posts, they're all going to be exposed. You'll be able to see the purlins and everything else. So I think it's really going to turn out maybe better than the plan that I had originally. Anyway, yeah, and the upper portion there, I was going to put T111, which is exterior siding, up there. I was only going to go up just up above that window right there to that next beam, and then do T111 up from there. But when I got to thinking about it, I had plenty lumber out here, and they were already cut 13-foot lengths, so by doing the board and batten I could actually go ahead and cover that too, other than just ending up with a bunch of cut pieces. So what my plan is to go ahead and go all the way with the siding, because what I'm going to have to do, I'm not going to get the encased windows. I'm going to go ahead and get the windows that I can actually hang without the encasement, so they'll actually screw onto the siding, and then I will build, I'll use some more store-bought 2x4s, just because a lot of what I have is green, and I know that there's going to be a little bit more shrinkage to it. So I don't want that ending up on my finish having any shrinkage, because when I fit it I want it to stay. So I'll encase the window once I get it set in there with a 2x4. and that will give me something to put my battens to. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Anyway, that is kind of the plans that I had, the change from being original to, or my original idea, to what I'm actually doing now. This area right here is where I'm going to put the rock. This is actually a 2.5 inch lift. Then I added the boards, which is another inch. So that gives me 3.5 inches. By the time I get the battens on here, you know, it's not going to make a whole lot of difference as far as the overhang. But when I originally looked at the rock, I was looking at the 2 inch. So when I actually lay it right here, then of course on the post right here it's going to be a little bit thinner. It'll be almost like, you know, 1/2 inch thick, just to continue the look around the bottom of the post. But I think it's really going to look nice. And of course behind this, if you had watched any of those other videos, I actually have OSB. This is roofing paper. I put that on there because when I actually lay the rock up here, I wanted it to have something to adhere to. So what I'm going to do is I've got some wall ties, and as I lay a row of rock, and maybe the second row, I will screw a wall tie into that, and I'll bring that out within my joint, and then I'll continue building up, and so they will be scattered, and that will actually hold the rock actually to the wall. And the moisture, you know, is not going to bother this because it won't go through. And I think that that's really, now also right here, you see how I could push that in from here to here, because I've had other people say, well, what about the crawl space? Well, if they were watching me build this, I left a 4-foot opening right here that I'm actually going to go back and build a door, and I'll be able to open that. I've got an access point from on this side, and I've got one on the far side, basically on towards the front of the cabin. But I've got one on each end, and so I put that there just to have access to, you know, later on maintenance or anything like that. That's the reason that I didn't put the house on the foundation, because if I had any issues with pipes or anything like that, I wanted to be able to get under there and fix it. So that is the reason that I built it off the ground. But anyway, yeah, I do have an access point on each side, and I was just trying to explain to you, the rock will actually come up to that point right there, and then I may do some kind of slab siding like I did down there on the compost toilet right here, kind of burn it where it kind of matched this. But anyway, the rock wall will go all the way around, so everything is covered, and it should last quite a few years. So, but anyway, this siding is really looking good, and I'm really liking that Australian timber oil. I think it does a really good job. You know, another thing, I get several different comments. This material right here is a radiant barrier. It is for radiated heat, whether it be the sun or whether it be internal, like from the wood stove or electric heat or propane or whatever. It's radiant, okay? This is not a moisture barrier, all right? It's not designed for that. It has holes in it that will allow it to breathe. There is a space right here between the siding and the barrier, okay? The way they explained it to me was kind of like a potato, okay? You put a potato in the oven, and you wrap it with aluminum foil, okay? You take, and then you had another one that was just the potato only. You take them out, both of them are going to be hot, but the one that's in aluminum foil is going to be hotter longer because it continues to cook. Now, if you touch the one with the aluminum around it, it's going to begin to transfer heat to your hand, okay? Otherwise, it would continue to hold the heat on the inside. That's the reason that you don't want it touching anything, because you don't want it to radiate the heat from this portion on out. So by having an airspace in here, we'll continue to keep the heat on the inside. When radiant heat hits this, it kind of turns it and goes back the other way, but it does, you know, this does heat up somewhat. So, and then, like I said, the reason I got the one with the holes in it, now they make different kinds, because I wanted the wall to be able to breathe. In the event any moisture got back there, I wanted it to be able to dry out. Now, I did do two sides that were incorrectly, because I put it on this side of the tube before. You know, you just get to working. I wasn't thinking, you know, I've built a couple of homes, you know, I guess I was thinking I was putting house wrap on there. I did install the first one correctly, and the reason that I mention this is because I don't want anyone to do what I did and do it incorrectly. So on those two sections that I did incorrectly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that out from the inside, and I'll staple it on the correct side of the 2x4. But this one is installed correctly, okay? There is a space between this board and this right here, okay? Like I said, this is not a moisture barrier, okay? I keep getting comments about the moisture. This isn't that, okay? If any moisture does get behind here, hopefully with these holes, it will be able to dry out both the inside and this side right here. But that's the reason the plastic. If you had noticed on the front, with the sunshine and also with the heat on the inside, even when it wasn't raining, moisture was developing when heat hits the cold on the back side of this, all right? Just condensation, basically. I don't want that. That's the reason I'm not going to leave that plastic on the wall, because when cold meets warm, it will create some condensation, and I definitely don't want that behind the wall. So when I did some research, they say you can put that on the complete interior, not on the outside, because then it traps it and it can't get out. And I thought, you know, I'm just not going to do it at all. Normally, you know, I don't know anybody that does do that, and I thought, you know, this is some new technology here as far as keeping heat in. Has nothing to do with moisture. So I thought, you know, I'm going to go ahead and do this. But I'm also going to get the one with the holes. That way, if I did have any moisture buildup or condensation buildup, I'd be able to dry it out. So, but this one is installed correctly, tacked on to my stud walls. Then I put on the horizontal 2x4s. So I've got 1.5 inches between the exterior siding right here and my radiant barrier. If you want to look this up, there's some good information on it. It's called atticfoil.com. Check it out. They've got some really good reviews in there. Got a lot of really good information on this, and I had shown you in a couple review videos back where they even have a new barrier that's got a little bit of insulation glued to the back of it. I think it was 2 mil, 3 mil, and 6 mil. But they said primarily it was for outbuildings like barns, you know, sheds, things like that, where you may have some sort of heat, where you may turn it on and go out there for a little bit during the day or whatever. And so it just helps to keep from, you know, a whole lot of heat loss, but it's not designed for homes or anything like that. You need to go ahead and use your R value and radiant barrier and stuff like that. But anyway, radiant barrier, not a moisture barrier. When I get the windows screwed on to the siding right here, I'll encase it with a 2x4. Probably what I'm going to do is run my battens all the way up to this point, because I don't have the windows yet. And you know, then I may put a piece of plastic or something right here to protect these. I'm not too worried about the ones up top unless we got a sideways blowing rain. But anyway, my point is that I can't actually do these until I get the framing around the window, because pretending this was a 2x4 frame around the wall, the battens do need to come up and meet this right here. So I've got to actually have that on first, but I've got to get the windows to screw them on before I can do that. But that's primarily what it's going to look like right there. So I brought out one of the battens out here. This is primarily what it's going to look like right here when I get it up. Okay. And I think what I'm going to do, because there's a couple of different ways that you can actually put this on. You can screw it kind of on the side into one board, which allows any expansion or contraction for the wood, and that way it doesn't split the material. But I think that what I'm going to do is, when I put mine on, first of all I'm going to run a bead of caulk down through the crack before I actually put the batten on. Now if I have any expansion, the caulking may not have any effect, but this material has been drying for quite some time, so I don't know how much I would actually have, but I decided it doesn't cost that much, so I'm going to go ahead and run a bead of caulk back there. Then I will put the batten on, and I'm actually going to screw the batten right where the seam is, right here, okay, so that if I do have any expansion or contraction, it still is not going to affect this. This would actually stay in place and allow the board to, you know, somewhat move behind it. But hopefully I don't have a whole lot of shrinkage, and the batten, the reason I made these 2.5 inches is because if I do, I've still got quite a bit of batten left that's actually covering the seams. So that is basically what it's going to look like, and I think it's going to turn out really well. Now a lot of these are kind of like these boards right here. I'll have to do some splicing when I get up top, but these are almost 9 feet long, so it's going to cover quite a bit before I have to get up there and do any splicing. But yeah, that's what it's going to look like. Troy? 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 What? Troy? Come here. All right, you ready? So I thought that I would show you this stack that I'm pulling from. These are the 13-foot 1x10s, and they're really coming in handy because originally, like I said, I'd cut them to go horizontal, but since I'm doing the board and batten, they reach almost to the peak. So when I get on the other side and a lot of the cuts that I'm taking off of these, I'll be able to use on the back side, I'll be able to cut my 8-footer and still use them to go under and above the window. So they're coming in, like I said, really handy, even though I changed up my plan to go and do board and batten. But I've got, I think, 4 more, and I'll be halfway, which will be down to here. Then another stack will probably do that side, and then I think I've got 4 more, okay, all the way up to here to be able to work on the other side in the back. And I've still got several 9-footers left, plus the ones that Jennifer had actually stained in there that I'm drying out. So yeah, they're coming in really handy. Well, hey guys, I'm going to go ahead and cut this video short right here because I do need to get to work. It's a really nice day, but appreciate you stopping by and checking out the review channel on things that are happening, reasons why, how, and all that behind the scenes here at the Outpost. If you're new to this channel, Smoky Mountain Outpost is our main channel. That's where we do all the building and stuff. But I hope that this was a little bit informative about, oh, the smoke, about the progress that's being made on the cabin and how I'm actually going to do the battens and the rock wall and my access points and all that. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm trying to get on the back side of this. Now the wind decided it wants to change directions. But anyway, yeah. So appreciate you stopping by. Hope everyone has a great morning. Take care. We look forward to seeing you back up here again at the Outpost next time. That smoke.